serpent lights the ancient sky of bread of tainted stars. Evil stirs, and in its wake the souls of mortals sway, and sorrow reigns over fields of red, and spirits pace through the shadows cast by their graves. These are days and nights of venom and blood. Heroes will rise as the anchors fall. Brave the strive, reclaim every soul that belongs to the beauty of dawn. Darkness strikes to blind the strong, but faith will guide our swords. Loyal hearts will stand as one and fight with shields of hope. Pride feels the deadly fire that devours our tower of gold. The drums of war will rage and roar till the sun burns bright once more. These are days and nights of venom and blood. Heroes will rise as the anchors fall. Brave the strive, reclaim every soul that belongs to the beauty of dawn. We tilled Skyrim's ground despite frozen toil. We tended the Quama beneath Morrowind's soil. We hunted the Wamasu in black marshes glades. We three hearts had no need for blades. Then they came from the seas, folded steel in their hands. They burned down our homes and ravaged our lands. A Kaviri brought nothing but bloodshed and lies. Our families were slain before our eyes. With three separate people, they shared a cruel joke, a choice between death or the yoke. But then our three people knew what must be done to end the oppression of three became one. Forged by war, the Ebonheart rose and drove the Akaviri back to the sea. When the enemies begged for the mercy they lacked, voices as one shouted blood for the pact. Forged by war, our story be told. No shackles can hold us, whether moonstone or gold. A serpent lights the ancient sky, a thread of tainted stars. Evil stirs, and in its wake the souls of mortals sway. And sorrow reigns over fields of red, and spirits pace through the shadows cast by their graves. These are days and nights of venom and blood. Heroes will rise as the anchors fall. Brave the strive, reclaim every soul that belongs to the beauty of dawn. Darkness strikes to blind the strong, but faith will guide our swords. Loyal hearts will stand as one and fight with shields of hope. Pride feels the deadly fire that devours our tower of gold. The drums of war will rage and roar till the sun burns bright once more. These are days and nights of venom and blood. Heroes will rise as the anchors fall. Brave the strive, reclaim every soul that belongs to the beauty of dawn. We tilled Skyrim's ground despite frozen toil. We tended the Quama beneath Morrowind's soil. We hunted the Wamasu in black marshes glades. We three hearts had no need for blades. Then they came from the seas, folded steel in their hands. They burned down our homes and ravaged our lands. A Kaviri brought nothing but bloodshed and lies. Our families were slain before our eyes. With three separate people, they shared a cruel joke, a choice between death or the yoke. But then our three people knew what must be done to end the oppression of three became one. Forged by war, the Evan heart rose and drove the Akaviri back to the sea. When the enemies begged for the mercy they lacked, three voices as one shouted blood for the pact. Forged by war, our story be told. No shackles can hold us, whether moonstone or gold. A serpent lights the ancient sky, a thread of tainted stars. Evil stirs, and in its wake the souls of mortals sway. And sorrow reigns over fields of red, and spirits pace through the shadows cast by their graves. These are days and nights of venom and blood. Heroes will rise as the anchors fall. Brave the strive, reclaim every soul that belongs to the beauty of dawn. Darkness strikes to blind the strong, but faith will guide our swords. Loyal hearts will stand as one and fight with shields of hope. Pride feels the deadly fire that devours our tower of gold. The drums of war will rage and roar till the sun burns bright once more. These are days and nights of venom and blood. Heroes will rise as the anchors fall. Brave the strive, reclaim every soul that belongs to the beauty of dawn.
welcome back to ESO Live, the official Twitch show for the Elder Scrolls Online. I am Jessica Folsom.
I'm Gina Brito, scooting in screen a little bit here.
And we are your English community managers for the Elder Scrolls Online. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, if you follow us on Twitch, you'll get alerted anytime we go online for one of these shows, or sometimes we go online for other things too. So we have a great show lined up for you today.
Last one focusing on Thieves Guild, and then we'll kind of get back to the regular schedule that everyone's used to.
Yep. The main focus today is going to be on non-combat systems for Thieves Guild, and then we'll have a little bit of art stuff at the end too. And of course, we'll get into the show lineup to show you exactly what you can expect.
Yep. So we are going to kick things off just with a quick update on some official ESO news.
Then we'll talk to lead systems designer Philip Draven and systems designer Mandy Parker about the Thieves Guild systems.
After that, we are going to get into our Ask Us Anything segment, where we answer some of your questions straight from the forums.
Then we'll be talking to senior concept artist Emerson Huang about Thieves Guild armor concept art.
And as always, we will have a giveaway sometime during the show. We're going to keep it a secret.
Although if you were here early, you might know what we're giving away.
That's true. That is true.
So first up, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the news. It's short, so we can get right into the Thieves Guild.
We're back. Welcome back. So to kick things off, currently on PTS, we have patch 2.3.3 that is live. Early next week, either Monday or Tuesday, we will be pushing out our last PTS incremental on PC 2.3.4. We have a number of fixes going into Thieves Guild and the trial, but we also have some new features going in. We have some crash fixes for some of the more common crashes that you might have encountered. The 64-bit client, which is something that we've been kind of working out the issues a little bit on some of the Windows operating systems, so that should be fully functional come next week.
For all supported Windows.
So it's going to be Windows 8 and also Windows 10. Those will be fully up and running at that point. The clemency passive, this is something that's been kind of working, kind of not for a little while, but this will be fully in next week's PTS patch, so we definitely want you to try it out and see what you think about it.
And Philip and Mandy will talk about that a bit next.
Indeed. And lastly, cross-faction trials. Now, this is something that we didn't really talk about too much ahead of time, but this is going to be in the next PTS incremental patch.
Surprise!
So you will be able to group up with friends from other alliances to kind of complete a trial. That includes the new one, all the old ones, and Dragonstar Arena. So
awesome!
Pretty cool stuff.
And of course, the Thieves Guild update and base game patch are coming very soon, right around the corner. March 7th is when it's coming out on PC and Mac, and then March 22nd and March 23rd for Xbox One and PS4, respectively. And we are actually going to be doing something a bit different this time with the release. We're actually planning to launch on PC and Mac for both North America and Europe at the same time. We're going to be starting the maintenance around 6 a.m. on the 7th. So if that changes, we'll let you know.
That's the current plan of attack, though.
So that wraps up our news, and we'll be talking to Phil and Mandy next about the non-combat Thieves Guild systems. All right, so Phil and Mandy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
So before we get into the discussion about the systems, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do here at ZOS so everybody has a good idea?
Sure. So as lead systems designer, I'm in charge of a team that is responsible for the non-combat systems in the game. This includes things from achievements and crafting to the collection system and, of course, justice, which is what we're largely going to be talking about today.
And I work primarily on the justice system. So that started years ago when we actually were designing the justice system all the way up to now with the Thieves Guild and upcoming stuff. So I guess we should start with like some of the things we did specifically for the Thieves Guild with Justice, because one of the things with Justice is that we always intended for it to be like the backdrop for Thieves Guild and for Dark Brotherhood. We wanted it to support anything that we would design in the future, and have it like make all the tools so that we could later use those to actually build interesting content and make these awesome stories. So one of the things that we did for the Thieves Guild DLC right now is the skill line. So that was a really interesting design challenge for us, because we wanted to make it so that you were an awesome thief if you went through and got all of the skills for the skill line. The entire purpose of it is to make you the best thief in Tamriel. So they don't affect combat, they don't affect like PvP, it doesn't affect any of that, but it makes you an awesome thief.
And of course, we already had the precedent of the Legerdemain skill line, which we needed to make sure that they played nice together and that they didn't kind of step on each other's toes.
Right. Like Legerdemain makes you a good criminal, but you know, if you want to focus on being a thief, you would go through with the skill line with Thieves Guild.
And we wanted to incorporate various elements of feedback that we got from players and our internal metrics that suggested that certain things might be worth exploring.
Right, like, hey, I really like this in the Legerdemain skill line, but I'd love to see this thing too.
Exactly, and we wanted to add some fun flavor elements to it as well.
Yeah, and we noticed that a lot of people were really focusing on like, you know, being a thief when they were playing Justice just regularly over the past year. And so some of the pain points that they brought up, we wanted to incorporate into skills to make it like, you know, so that you are, you know, with haggling, for example, you are getting more money for all the things that you're fencing. And for Swiftly Forgotten, like your bounty is going to be, you know, it's going to reduce over time a little bit faster. And for Veil of Shadows, when you're trying to pick up things behind a merchant, you can kind of ease behind them a little bit easier and grab stuff. So
those are the incremental passives that we wanted to kind of round out the system, but we wanted a few that were a little more involving and a little more exciting that players could really engage with.
And one of those is Timely Escape, which Kyle is going to show us in a moment here. With Timely Escape, if you are in combat and if you have heat, sometimes on your compass you'll see like a little icon that shows up, which you can see right there. And if you follow it, you'll find a footpad. And
it will whisk you away.
Yeah, the footpad is somebody who's part of the guild, and you can click on them and you'll be able to flee.
Is he gonna make it?
Maybe.
If
that was close.
Kyle,
if you're
you had
stunned.
one job.
Yeah. But yeah, the thought behind the footpad is that they are members of the Thieves Guild also, and that they are trying to help you out in your moment of absolute need. And this actually came out of a funny conversation that we had a long time ago, back with when we were doing the original round of Justice. And Matt Weathers, the concept artist for ESO, he was talking about the Matrix, and he said, you know, wouldn't it be cool if we had a skill where you're like, you could use your phone and you could say, you know, show me an exit, and like you immediately can run to the exit and like you're safe. And I was like, you know, I think we can actually do that. And so we started prototyping it, and then we were like, you know, that actually fits more with the Thieves Guild. So
and it helps change up, you know, your play pattern a little bit, where instead of always going back to the same outlaw refuge door, or having an opportunity to be a little more efficient when you're in a bad situation.
Yeah, got it.
You
Redemption.
get to see it. Well done. Well done.
Everyone was saying Kyle's the new Vlad.
Yeah, and you show up safely in the refuge, and you know you have escaped all of the hate of all the guards in the area.
So how often can you use that skill?
You can use it as long as you're in combat and you have heat. And
the footpads do change up their locations. They're not always there. Once once anybody uses them, they're gone, but they might pop up somewhere else in the city.
So if Phil and I were both running to the same footpad and I got there first, then he would have to find a different one.
And then you'd go,
yeah. So and it's hard. You don't really know where the next one is going to be. Even if you knew where all of them could be, it would be hard to predict.
But if I had Clemency, maybe that would be okay, which is another ability that we added. The thinking there is that periodically you get into a bad situation, you might have a full inventory of really valuable stolen goods.
Maybe you have a couple purples on you.
And you really don't want to have to pay out and lose everything.
Or you have items for the repeatable quests, which you really don't want to lose.
Yeah.
So we thought, you know, if there was a way that you could just be like, you know, I know I messed up, but just let me go this one time, pretty please. And you know, we made the clemency skill out of that. It's kind of your once a day get out of jail free card. And
as an associated piece of polish that we were able to get in that we've wanted to get in for a while is when you do fire clemency or pay your bounty or flee from a guard, the guards will actually now react appropriately instead of staring creepily at you before walking away.
Right.
So now they'll actually say something appropriate to their personality, to their gender, to their race, and it kind of fits and just makes it feel like a more complete experience. So.
Yeah, all of the guards actually have different personalities. So, you know, and it's based on their gender, their race, and then
Their
the voice
location
actor and their
even.
location. Yeah, and so, you know, you might run into a guard that has a drunk personality or one that is angry all the time or something. Yeah, and so when you say, you know, when you use clemency, they'll react appropriately to their personality and to you, and then
Or
when
the
you
other
pay
ones.
off, you're fine. Yeah,
And that'll be live with
Yep.
Thief
Yeah.
Guild launch?
Yep.
Yep. It's all fully VO'd and just adds a lot of flavor to it.
Yeah. And then the next thing, which is actually our last skill for the Thieves Guild, would be Finders Keepers. And this one we wanted to have more of a, like, something that would pull you into the rest of Tamriel. So something that you could do that's still thiefy, that's still exploration based, and that ultimately serves to draw you into using the refuges again, and also like finding cool stuff. And one of the things we did was add these little troves that you can see here. They've got a little glow on them.
And they're scattered.
They're all over Tamriel.
well over
Yeah.
1,000.
Yeah, all over the game, all over the whole world.
Yeah, the content team placed them in really creative places all over the game. So
And the idea here behind them is that another thief may have stolen something, been in a situation where they
Right.
weren't able to offload them, and so they hid a trove
Right.
and marked it so that, you know, they would be able to find it later, or another thief would be able to find it later.
right, so like a guard was following them. They already used their clemency, you know, and they were like, well, I got to stash my stuff, and so, you know, because even NPC thieves can't use the bank, so they stashed it, and you just happened to find it first, and hey, you know, all's fair in the Thieves Guild, right?
And you can find some pretty good stuff in them,
Yeah.
you know, from item set gear.
We do have item sets, and
We added the notion of stolen shipments, which is kind of fun, where it's a stolen shipment, you open it up and it could be, you know, 10 giant spoons or
Right.
10 scarves or
Right.
any type of thing
And
like
those
that.
are
That's useful
designed
for the collection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So, you know, you can use those to kind of help out with any of your repeatables, with certain ones of them anyway. And then there's also bounty pardon edicts occasionally. So we'll talk about those
Yeah.
a little bit later. But
So that covers the skill line.
Yeah.
But that is not the only thing we added. We
Yes.
expanded justice in a number of different ways.
the Thieves Guild is packed
Yeah.
with stuff.
And
yeah.
We mentioned the repeatables a couple of times, but we had to do some item tagging first.
Right.
And the item tagging system is a notion of categorizing all of these different stolen treasure items that you can get throughout the world, from pickpocketing, from safe boxes, from, you know, going into people's houses and stealing from their wardrobes.
Right.
And Mandy did a lot of work on our item database to make
Right.
this make sense.
So we already have it so that, you know, if you go to like a cabinet, you're more likely to get dishes, and if you go to, you know, a wardrobe, you're more likely to get clothing and
So
things
there's
like
a
that.
logic behind it.
Right, and we also have it so that, you know, if you're in Bankra, you'll get something that's kind of more geared towards orcish culture and things like that.
And we try to make it feel as organic as possible.
right.
So it's not necessarily you're always getting the exact same thing from the exact
Yeah.
same
Right.
spot, but it kind of has some good overlap.
Yeah, and we wanted to really build on that and still have like a more of a challenge so that you remember where the best places to go are for certain items. So in the Thieves Guild, we have these repeatables where sometimes it'll say, you know, you need to steal like 3 utensils or something. And so as a player, you would think, hey, where can I find a utensil? And you're like,
tavern or a
yeah,
restaurant
tavern,
or-
exactly. And so like a cabinet or something like that. And so you kind of know where you should go, and you're going to logically, as you play, just kind of realize, oh, hey, certain places or certain objects are more likely to drop certain things that I need for these quests. And so the hope was is that when you get these repeatables, you know, you kind of develop a plan in your mind, and you're like, okay, I know I need to go to the kitchen for this one, or next one I need to go to, you know, a stable
Or
or something
pickpocket
like
these-
that.
these
or
individuals at
pickpocket
these
a
locations.
fisherman maybe,
Oh, yeah.
or a bard, you know, things like that.
And so to do that, we had to go through our entire database of
Yes.
what are we up to now?
Almost
Couple-
3,000
almost-
justice
Wow.
items. Yeah.
Right.
And
Just the two of you?
It was
just-
honestly it was mostly
Just
Mandy.
me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, consistency then, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was, going through each item and saying like, okay, should this be a musical instrument? Should it be a device? And the first time that we went through it, we just did one tag because we were like, oh, that's probably going to be good. But we went through and we did some play testing of it, and we thought, maybe they should have up to 3 tags, because sometimes you'll get like a musical chamber pot or something really bizarre. And we don't actually, but I kind of feel like that should be a thing. But like, you're like, this should be a musical instrument and also something else. And we ended up going through and saying, okay, well, these can have up to 3 tags.
It also makes it a little easier when you go through and find several items that you're more likely to find something that's going to hit the tag of the category that you need for your quest.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
So yeah, and all of the Justice stealable items will have a couple of tags, or at least one tag, but up to 3 tags. And so except for these, which are the these are the secret things.
Good segue here.
Yeah.
So up until now in the Justice system, you couldn't get anything above purple quality treasures.
Right.
And so wanting to move a little bit beyond that, combined with a lot of positive feedback from the museum quest in Orsinium, we wanted to kind of meld those ideas together to make a unique experience.
Right. And this also builds on like the Skyrim quest, where in the Thieves Guild, where you go around and you steal like the golden ship and you put it in your guild. And so that combined with the museum quest from Hrothgar, we decided, hey, could we make something that you can fence, that you can also show off, and could we make these into something that's like more fun than worth money? And so from that,
you wouldn't fence them, you would just steal them.
Right. But like something that like is more of like a trophy and less of like a value item.
Yeah, these are you proving how cool of a thief you are, being able to pull off these heists.
They're like the challenge quests.
Right. And it's all organic. It's actually not quest based. It's all through the achievement. But there are hints that are kind of scattered around that you can find that will kind of point you in the right direction.
And we went through a lot of rounds of iteration on this. The first round we actually were like, well, you could fence them and then maybe that'll work. And then the second round was, what if we could show them off? And this is in the guild. So once you get these items, and their locations are secret currently, we don't have like quest pips or anything on there to tell you where to go. But once you have these items, you can place them in the guild and they show up for you. Yeah.
And once again, this is another thing that will send you all throughout Tamriel to find all of these different unique items.
Yeah.
You'll get them, you'll bring them here, and you'll place them on display to add to the prestige of the Thieves Guild that you're assisting.
Right.
Yeah, and so they're not for monetary gain. They're for display purposes.
So prestige is cool, but do you get anything else for it?
So if you manage to get all of them, as part of the achievement completion, you'll get a cool title of Master Thief, which is really fun, and you will get a memento, which is one of the cool activatable little trophy objects that used to be in the game from public dungeons, which have all now been converted into another subsection of the collection system. And so this memento is one of the first things that we're adding as part of that new system.
Very cool.
And I know Rich had talked about mementos a little bit 2 shows ago. So if you want to get a peek on that.
Yeah.
Because you guys did that system too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the collection system is something that we worked on, and just like Justice, we're always looking at ways to improve existing systems and add to it and grow it to add more value and fun, and take things out of the inventory so that it's a little more manageable, things like that.
I mean, we read the forums all the time, and so we're looking at people's pain points, and we're like, is there anything we can do? And this was one of those things, like mementos.
We really wanted to do that for a while, and there were were certain things came together to allow us to implement it in a nice, clean way.
It was a really nice change.
And so even if you've deleted your old items, it'll still track your quest completion, so you don't lose anything.
And it sounds like you all are thinking ahead of ways you can implement new mementos.
Oh, always.
Oh yeah,
always.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I mean, this is the first example of that, but there's the sky's the limit, since these are kind of fun, unique flavor objects.
And speaking of fun objects, we have the hidden panels.
Right. So in the world now, there's various places you can go, and we call them clickies internally, but interactive objects throughout the world. So there's a crate, you go grab it, there's a safe box, there's a treasure chest, there's a sword on the wall. Our game is all about interactivity. And so one of the things that we added were these hidden panels that are kind of subtly integrated into the world. They have a little marker on there to suggest that maybe there's something going on with them.
They should all be marked in some way.
Yeah, have some indicator. And the idea here that we wanted to add
I knew it would
We're
happen.
definitely going to get something kind of questionable. So the idea with these, we wanted to play it a little different than just random stuff that you got. Was we came up with this notion of mixing and matching all of the different treasure items to tell a little story.
Yeah.
And
I wonder what story this is telling.
That is quite the story.
yes, so we're not taking personal responsibility for any individual story.
In fact, the cool thing about this is that we kind of like we crowdsourced all this with the studio. So we sent out a list of all the justice items to people, and we were like, "Hey, can you guys pull like 2 or 3 items from this list that makes a funny story?" And
That's
Wonder
almost
who
worse.
came up with
yeah,
that
this
one.
is almost weirder.
Yeah, I kind of want to find out.
But each one, you know, people were like, "Hey, if I add these 3 items together, it tells like a funny little story in
like
your
a
mind."
faded wanted poster
Yeah.
and a collection of paints. Like maybe somebody is
Right.
trying to frame somebody else or make it so that they're not, people aren't looking for them quite as
Yeah.
much. There's hundreds of them that all come up.
like
now.
this one. I mean, the story, is basically somebody's making some kind of tooth collection, and
yeah.
it's kind of creepy.
Did you have that one?
But that might have been me. I don't know. But
So I think Kyle was resetting it so we could see a
Yes.
few of them.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
don't actually reset every time
Right.
you open and close
Right.
them.
Oh, right. And so they'll be scattered
This
around.
guy's standing on it. He's like, no, don't take my
Yeah.
stuff.
that's where he's keeping his weird stuff.
Yeah, he doesn't appreciate you being there, rummaging through his hidden panel.
Right.
And these aren't always just the floor, right?
No, there's
Oh yeah, there are
walls
many
are
of
just-
them.
there's a number of them,
all
so you got to
sorts of
keep your eyes out. They're
Yeah.
not always super obvious, but if you're looking, you'll find a
Yeah.
few.
Yeah, the savvy thief will run into them, but it's going to take some exploration.
And these are currently just in Abba's Landing?
Just for now,
Right.
yeah. But just like with everything else, we always look for ways to expand them and grow them, and depending on how players feel about them, we may be able to bring them to more areas.
Cool. All right.
Right on.
Yeah.
So let's say I'm running around and I'm stealing stuff and, I'm getting chased by guards a lot. What can I do?
So,
Besides clemency.
in addition to the skill line that we added, where maybe you're not getting detected as often, or maybe you're losing your bounty a little faster, or you're getting out of it with clemency, we also realized that we're sort of really emphasizing players going out and being criminals between Ledger
Yeah.
Domain and Thieves Guild and upcoming content. So we introduced the concept of bounty pardon edicts. These are special objects that you can get as part of rewards for different types of quests, or maybe you can find them in these thieves troves that will instantly clear some amount of your bounty for you.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the different tiers?
Yeah, we have 3 different tiers. We have a low tier, which is 500 gold, and a medium tier, which is 2,000 gold, and then a high tier, which you will find out for yourself.
Yeah, it's
and-
more of a unique reward, but it can
Yes.
clear a significant amount of your
Yes, it is.
Great.
It is a lot, and the low tier ones are going to be found more in like the thieves' troves kinds of things, and then the medium ones would be for rewards with your repeatables,
Yeah, the
and your
repeatables and the
heists
heists and
and
things.
stuff like that.
And so if you find yourself, incidentally getting some bounty here and there, you don't necessarily need to go and pay it off. You don't need to worry about getting confiscated, and it will clear all of your associated heat, I believe, when you use them as well. So
So between this and some of the Thieves Guild passives, you guys have given thieves a lot of good tools
Yes.
to
yes.
get out and get their items to a fence.
Right.
And they all hopefully, tie together well, so you can kind of pick how you want to progress your character between Ledger Domain and Thieves Guild, different item sets that might assist you in some of your thievery behavior.
Right.
And now you have all these additional options.
I mean, the tagline is, play dirty and get away clean,
Right.
And that was, we were trying to think like, okay, is this going to make you play dirty? And if not, can we make it, get
Yeah.
away clean? So, we kind of had those 2 goals with all these things. And then
Do we
I
want to
guess-
get into the summonable fence here?
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay.
That's a pretty interesting
Yeah.
new
Yes.
feature that we
Yeah,
have.
so just again going back to the collection system, one of the new categories is the assistant category. And this category is sort of a subcategory of pet where you have to pick between having an assistant or a pet up. But an assistant will actually have some type of specialized service that they can offer you. In this case, with the smuggler, they can actually fence your goods for you out in the field, so you don't need to necessarily go back to an outlaw refuge.
That's handy.
And they charge a fee, so I mean, it's more ideal if you have a lot. If you can get back to the refuge, you should do that. But if you're in a tight place, or
In an area where you're really cleaning up and you don't
Yeah.
want to necessarily take the
Yeah.
time, or you're worried somebody else will come in and grab those safe boxes,
Right.
then you can offload everything and go right back to your criminal behavior.
yeah, precisely.
But yeah, they're super cool looking.
Yep.
And they'll follow you around. They won't get into combat with you or anything like that.
Right.
It's not meant to be a
they're,
combat benefit.
They're very focused on one particular function. So, the smuggler is there as your fence. So,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty good.
Okay. And how do you get her?
So right now it's going through the Thieves Guild skill line.
Okay.
However, the assistance as a category
So
is
there's
something
some
that we
things you
can
have
grow.
to do to get this particular one.
Yes, this is a content-driven one where you play
Okay.
through the Thieves Guild skill or the Thieves Guild quest line.
Quest,
Excuse
yeah.
me.
Very cool. And then we already announced that there are a couple more that are going to be coming in the Crown Store, but they're different than this one. They have a
Right.
different function.
Right.
Right.
There's a banker
and a
and
merchant.
A merchant. Yep.
Yeah. And we can keep adding things there as we evaluate player feedback and see how they come.
Yeah.
Great.
And then so.
Other
Yeah, those are sort of the big beats of the Thieves Guild systems that
Right.
we've added, but we've really been looking at all of the individual pieces of justice, since we implemented it, over a year ago now, and so
anytime we have a chance to do even a small update or a small change that makes it more fun for players or more more enjoyable as a thief specifically for Thieves Guild. We tried to take that opportunity, and we had so many small changes with Thieves Guild, but a couple of those, we added a new kind of category of crime in the world, right? And we're calling that criminal mischief, and this kind of gives us as developers more tools to make more crimes. So
it's a little bit of a catch-all. So
Yeah.
there are crimes between pickpocketing, stealing, and murder,
Right.
and we wanted to represent that within the
Yeah.
system.
Right.
So now we have the potential to say, well, maybe in certain cases, arson would be considered a crime.
right, or
that
in
we
this
could then
particular quest,
Right.
something very
Or like
specific
defacing a
might be.
building.
Absolutely.
Right, yeah.
And we message that very clearly. It's got the red icon and the red
you're
name.
definitely warned before that
It's
happens.
well known, but then
Yeah.
if somebody witnesses you, just like anything else, you can incur a bounty.
Right.
Okay.
And then,
I'm sorry, going back to the, gosh, I'm blanking. What do they call that? Pregnancy brain? What was the guy called? The smuggler. Gosh.
yeah.
Going back to him,
Yeah.
somebody in chat was asking if you'd be able to launder items at any point.
This is just fencing.
Yeah.
This is just fencing items, but you can fence through the smuggler at any point that you can interact with the smuggler.
So it's not like just a one-time use or anything. You can
Nope,
kind of
it's
do it whenever.
it's
Right.
basically like a pet with very few additional restrictions. Where if you can summon the pet, you can summon your smuggler, your assistant, and fence your items.
Right.
But like Mandy said, there is a fee, so you'll have to weigh
Right.
that
Yeah.
against the convenience of it.
Right.
But I mean, since we are also like going into our next thing that we did for Justice, since we did up all the values of purple items and white items,
Right.
You might say, well, hey, now that this purple quality item is worth 1,500 gold, maybe I'll take the 35% cut.
Right.
Yeah,
Because I'm still coming
you
out
have to weigh
ahead,
the pros
right?
and cons, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we try to keep an eye on things and look and make these minor changes over time. We noticed that white items weren't being fenced very often. People were going for green since they're relatively easy to get. And so we wanted to make an interesting decision where maybe if you didn't have a lot of time to play, you would just go steal a bunch of items, and instead of just destroying your white stolen items, you might,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, well, I'm getting a decent percentage of the value, so I'll go sell them. And then combined with things like haggling, it makes it even more of a compelling choice.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the purple stealable increase was just, we really wanted it to be dramatic when you get a purple quality stolen treasure.
Really excited
Yeah.
to
And,
sell it right away.
And so
Right.
we ranked that up quite a bit. They're still just as rare, but when you do get one, they are even more rewarding.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Okay.
And then the other big update would be with trespassing.
Right.
We made a bunch of different changes with trespassing. Now there are actual zones that Kyle's about ready to enter here.
right.
Yeah.
And it'll tell you that you're about to trespass. It
Yep,
will
it gives you a
notify you.
message. And at the bottom, you can see your infamy meter is up. And
Completely.
Even
Yeah,
though you have
yeah.
no bounty right now,
yeah, you're totally legit technically, but you have maximum heat. You will
Yeah.
be spotted.
and just being seen is considered a crime
guard.
in this case, where in most cases that's not how it works. So,
So if he were to just step back out of the trespass zone,
he'd be fine.
he'd be,
that would go back down.
Yep. But if you notice, he just incurred bounty for being witnessed just by
Right.
being
Yep.
seen.
Yep.
Yeah. And any guards that are in these areas will attack you on sight because you are clearly not supposed to be here
It's like a
whatsoever.
restricted area kind of thing.
So this would be a good area if you stole something and you're worried about getting seen to
Right.
use your smuggler.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And one of the other things we have in trespassing area would be like clairvoyant guards, which
So with us adding all of these additional ways to kind of avoid guards, we definitely wanted to take a look at the guards themselves to
Right.
make sure they were compelling and not trivialized.
Right.
And so there was a lot of work done on these clairvoyant guards for having them be a little more aware of their surroundings and be able to toy and interact with the player's stealth behavior a little bit.
And they're not only in trespassing areas,
Right.
but they are predominantly there.
And they're the heists too, right?
Yeah, they are. So you'll notice them as Kyle is sneaking up on this guy here. There is a circle around his detection area,
And
if
so-
you're sneaking and if you have heat, they will notice you and they will reveal you.
And then you're knocked out of stealth immediately. So if you're not witnessed, then you'll be witnessed.
Yeah. And it's easy to kind of tell where they are. Not only do they have the line around them, but they also are carrying a lantern.
Yeah, we try to call a lot of attention to them because they have a little bit of a unique behavior.
Yeah,
associated with
well, the
them.
torch, the lantern, any
Yeah.
guard that's carrying a fire has kind of historically been like they're going to see you through your disguise.
Exactly.
Or
And we tried to, the colors similar to Mage Light, which is also a detection ability. So we tried to make it as consistent as possible and clear to the player. I think that hits most of the main beats with the justice system, but obviously we're continuing to tweak things. We're looking at feedback, we're looking at metrics, we're looking at forums.
Absolutely.
And moving forward, obviously we're not done with the justice system in any way, especially with what what's coming up in the future.
Yeah.
So we're really eager to see how people at large dive into these systems.
Yeah.
awesome. Paul,
There
do you
was
have any-
one question going back to the Thieves Guild passive skill line.
Okay.
Somebody was asking how you level the skill line.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Just like with
from
some
Retro
of our other
Retro banana.
guild skill lines, you'll level it up by participating in the Thieves Guild. So by completing the quests in the quest line, by going and performing the repeatables, by performing the heists, by participating. It's not exactly like Ledger Domain in that any criminal act, such as pickpocketing or laundering, will
Right.
increase it, but specifically associated actions
in the
with the
name
Thieves
of-
Guild. Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that just about wraps it up. There
Okay.
there's a lot of questions in here
Yeah.
about basically not for you guys.
Okay. Okay. Well,
So
Robles not
yeah, they're
here.
just
Yeah.
kind of going through and chit-chatting amongst themselves.
Sure.
But yeah, this is really cool to see. And again, this will be live in like a week and change.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
yeah, we're really excited for everybody to dive
Yeah.
in. And
Great.
just like I said, with all of our systems, we're always looking for opportunities to expand. So anytime players have a good idea that we can incorporate, we try to get it in there.
Well, we
Yep,
can't wait to see your new
absolutely.
systems on live and see what you guys do for future updates. So thank you
you.
so much
Yeah.
for coming on and showing us everything you've been working on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I think next up, we're going to do a giveaway.
do a giveaway. Why not? So before the show started, sort of just kind of polled the early guys that were sitting in chat asking, what do you think we should give away today? And we all decided we'll do a hoodie. An Alliance-specific hoodie. And just keep in mind that this is only sizes medium, large, and extra large. That's just all we have in stock.
Yep.
So if you would like a hoodie, you can go ahead and just type hoodie into chat, and we will grab some random person,
Totally random.
and you will win.
Today's my day.
Yeah? You're going to win, CJ?
CJ's going to win, he already said. Sorry, I guess we're not doing a giveaway now. So,
After this, we'll get into
I just
the,
need to readjust, I'm sorry.
Yep. After this, we'll get into the Ask Us Anything. So that's some of your questions from the official forums and our answers that we've gathered from the devs. Look at all those hoodies.
I know.
Props to the guy writing Hodor.
Hodor.
You're spelling hoodie wrong. Okay, so we are going to pull our winner so we can get right into our next segment. It is Bram the Slayer 2000.
Congrats, Bram the Slayer.
Bram the Slayer. Kai is going to reach out to you on Twitch chat just to kind of get your address, your alliance preference, and your size. So make sure and look out for a message from him. It might go into your other tab, so be on the lookout. And as we said, next up we are going to get into Ask Us Anything.
All right, so next up, as we said, we're going to get into your Ask Us Anything questions. These are taken from the official forums, and they cover a wide range of topics. So first up is a question by Kale Braun. He or she asks, will we be able to steal some awesome things in Thieves Guild? So we kind of went over that a little bit earlier with Mandy and Phil, but if you have access to Thieves Guild, the DLC, you'll actually be able to loot Thieves' troves from all around Tamriel, those with the little blue boxes that they were showing off. If you're above level 30, there's actually a small chance that you'll get a purple item set piece as well. So since these items are stolen, though, you will need to make sure that you launder them to prevent them from being confiscated by guards.
Careful. Next question from Vox asking, will there ever be some sort of DLC bundle, let's say with all the DLCs kind of grouped together for a slightly discounted price? And if so, when could we expect to see this happen? It's definitely something that we've been exploring and talking about internally, so stay tuned for details.
Maybe. This is from Gitterick. Are there any plans for new emotes to be released with DLC or in the Crown Store? Not emotes specifically.
Such a tease. We're going to move on to the next question. To relax. Is it possible or feasible to adjust the battle spirit buff for a certain campaign, like the no CP campaign that's coming up? And if so, is something like that being considered? It's technically possible, yeah, but we'd like to do a little bit more testing and sort of get some additional feedback on the non-CP campaign before committing to any sort of adjustments to those.
This question is by Strangerful. We need a fix for a problem in game getting collectible malformed Kagudi tusks. Currently, there are no Kagudi tusks in veteran level zones for Ebonheart Pact. Maybe you can do something to correct this, like increase the chance to get the trophy in veteran DSA. So thanks for letting us know. This is something that we're looking into, and we have some improvements coming to this in our next PTS incremental patch, which means it'll also be going into the Thieves Guild update.
May or may not have to do with veteran DSA, like you suggested. Next question is from Royalty27. Would it be possible to get some sort of mod repellent after we've beaten the story in an area, for example, in Dalen's Mill over in Glenumbra? There's really no plans to do something like this, but you can always improve, let's say, your stamina riding skill, and that will dramatically reduce how often that you get knocked off your mount, so you can kind of get through there a little bit faster.
Those critters remember.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what level you are, they'll come after you. This question is from Eloa. If heists are a successful feature that players enjoy and play regularly, are you planning on adding more heist dungeons in the future? It's possible, yes.
So possible.
We might have talked about it a little.
Next question. Back in ESO Live episode 30, very specific, Brian Wheeler, who's our lead PvP designer, specifically said that Alliance vendor gear will scale to VR16 with Thieves Guild, and that was one of our largest requests. It appears as though that's not happening. If not, how come? Upgrading bags on the merchants up to VR16 was something that we did initially plan to do in Thieves Guild. However, this wasn't quite ready for this update and has been pushed to our next update, which is Dark Brotherhood. The traveling merchant that shows up in Cyrodiil each week will have VR16 items, though.
So it is coming. This is by Moriarty23. With Orsinium out and setting the precedence for new zones to be battle leveled in the future, what is ZeniMax's view on what it means to level a character? For example, what does it mean to replace your level 20 items with level 40 items in a future where there is a mechanic to make them equal in the end? So this is a very good question. So your gear is actually a very important role in the power of your character, and upgrading the gear is very crucial. So there are actually skill points to hunt down, there's new abilities to unlock, and battle leveling doesn't perfectly even out the playing field, but it does help close the gap some. But some players who invest time and effort into getting the best gear and abilities will always be stronger than those who don't.
There you have it. Davey, 1107, asking, with so many motifs, simply searching for a purple in a guild store can generate thousands of items. Can we get some sort of style filters or piece filters? This is something that we know that you guys are really interested in, and we do have some long-term plans that should help address this, but just keep in mind it's not something that's going to happen overnight.
This one is from Patreus. In the Year Ahead blog, Grandmaster Firer, I like that, said your focus this year was going to be on social. You hinted at LFG, the LFG group tool, improvements, adjusting to leveling, and but also will we see the focus on social in the content you're building? Apart from instance dungeons and raids, do you have content that brings server and faction communities together? So if you mean server-wide events where an entire faction needs to collect a bunch of stuff and trigger an event, no, we don't have any plans for anything like that currently. But if you mean more solo and group-based activities in the same space, like Rossinium, then yes.
We are moving right along here. Would it be possible for older set drops to get an update to be at max level? That is very possible, and it is something that we've done in the past with trials. When doing this, we want to make sure that the item set works with the current metagame and is also competitive with other available item sets.
This is by Jared Lindsay. Will there ever be a full-on expansion pack for ESO, something with a number of significant changes to the terrain and environment of Tamriel? Our focus continues to be on building new areas and locales, so if we do plan on rebuilding any of the old areas, we'll be sure to let you know.
Next question. When will the provisioning writs delivery point be aligned with all the other crafting writs? Right now, the top tier writ goes to Orsinium, as it should, but the next one goes down to Cold Harbor. This should be Belkarth or Craglorn, like every other writ. Currently, the writs filter by your tier of crafting passive and your ability to go to a turn-in site. With provisioning specifically, there are actually fewer total ranks to group writs by than with all the other trade skills. As a result, Belkarth and Orsinium share a tier, and the provisioning writs at that tier are only delivered to Belkarth if you don't have access to the Orsinium DLC.
This one is by Ashtal. How is the AP reward for killing another player calculated? The power and skill of an opponent can vary so wildly from player to player that there's no way to calculate exactly how much AP you should get from each individual kill. This is why all players have a flat value that scales up depending on their level and AP rank.
Sorry. Kai was just asking, he's like, who was the winner again? So I was just trying to get that over to him.
Bram the Slayer.
Bram the Slayer was the winner. All right, sorry about that. Next question. Will you ever rise Craglorn from the dead by making it soloable or making it scale to the character level like Hrothgar? That is something that we would love to do someday. That's it.
This question is by Booner. In PvP, my teammates and I constantly encounter what we call Team Green. So what is Team Green? Team Green is when two enemy alliances team up and zerg the third alliance with overwhelming numbers.
Specifically, Aldmeri and Daggerfall zerging up
In this
against
case.
Ebonheart.
Yep.
Because, you know, yellow and blue make green.
Right. I guess there's a Team Purple too. Will there ever be some kind of underdog buff for the faction that's being outnumbered like this during battles in PvP? We actually have a scoring and population underdog buff, but no combat buffs planned at this time.
Second to last question. With the weekly rewards for Maelstrom dropping weapons 100% of the time now, will we ever be able to get gold jewelry again? It's a good question, and the answer is yes. We are planning to add a 50% chance to get gold jewelry from Maelstrom Arena in the update after Thieves Guild is released.
Awesome. All right, so this is our last question. It's by Junkogen. Do you have any plans to add more functionality to the Snake Blood passive from the Alchemy skill line? So adding a new feature such as, let's say, poison making would give us a good opportunity to expand the usefulness of this passive. So stay tuned.
Poison making, huh?
Poison making? We might have mentioned that at some point, maybe.
Maybe. And just to be clear, all these questions that we pull from is from a specific forum thread. It's called Ask Us Anything. It's stickied up on the general discussion section of the forums. So if you have a question that you would like us to consider answering, you can just plop it over there.
And sometimes if we see a question that we think is really good, but it would require an extremely long or complicated answer, we'll instead answer it on the forums because you don't want to hear us spouting out a paragraph here.
Maybe they do. I don't know. I would assume not. So coming up next, we are going to get into our next segment, which is talking about concept art, specifically armors, with Emerson Huang. So we're back, and our last segment today, we are going to speak with senior concept artist Emerson Huang, who has joined us today.
Welcome.
Welcome to the show. So just to kind of kick things off, do you want to tell everybody just sort of what you do as a concept artist?
So as a concept, I get the designs from the design team, and then we visualize what they want, and then we pass it on to the modelers, and then it just goes on through the pipeline.
So you're like the first step of creation for something.
Yeah, we're the first ones to take a crack at visually
Interpreting a design.
interpreting a design or iterating on an idea.
And lately, you've been focusing on armor, right? Armor sets.
Yes.
You're sort of like the armor specialty guy.
Yeah. In the beginning, we all kind of did everything, but eventually we kind of became more specialized, and I've kind of become the armor concept guy.
Nice. And you've been at ZOS for a long time, right? For
Yep.
over 5 years, I think.
Yep. Over 5 years.
And how long have you been just in the industry in general?
I've been working in the game industry for over 12 years.
Wow.
Nice.
Always doing
Very
concept
cool.
art.
Always doing concept art.
Great.
Excellent. So we wanted to show off sort of some pieces that you've done, and specifically for Thieves Guild, and sort of what that process is like, kind of starting it at the very beginning. So I guess we can kind of get started with this first one. So this is what you call, I guess, a reference piece?
Yeah. So before we put down anything on paper, or I guess in my case digitally, start drawing, we gather as much reference as we can. So in this case is Thieves Guild armor. So we heavily relied on what Skyrim has done and on what the other previous games have done, like Morrowind and Oblivion. And we are really conscious of trying to keep what they've done and just in a way improve on it or iterate on it, but still keep that familiarity.
So people look at it and go, yep, that's definitely Thieves Guild armor.
Right, right. And that's very important.
So after this step, it goes into, I guess, just like little quick sketches.
Right. So these are real quick, just to get some ideas down. And this is the phase where it's a lot of back and forth with the art director and kind of narrowing it down to what he wants, and also still kind of keeping it consistent with the previous games.
And I imagine just that back and forth probably takes a lot of time too, trying to figure out exactly what it is that you're going to do.
Right, right.
So looking at this piece, I see there's the light, medium, and heavy. Are these all possible designs?
Well, so in the previous games, specific themed armor was always one set. And in our game, we have 3 sets.
Right.
We have the light, medium, and armor. So in a way, we're kind of expanding on the old armor into 3 versions of it. And of course, keeping in mind the craftability of it as well. So light will be more cloth, medium will be more leather, and then heavy will be more metal.
Okay.
So this is something, we actually put this up on the website just as an example of some Thieves Guild armor that you can get. You drew this, right?
Right, yeah.
Well, it looks awesome.
Thanks.
So this is an example of the final product. We've got what, light, medium, and heavy from left to right, and then some of the weapons as well.
Right.
So when you do these sets, you design the full suite of weapons too, right?
In this case, I've done the basically the whole set. So yes, the weapons included. Sometimes I don't get to do the weapons. It all depends on how heavy my load is and how much stuff I need to get done.
Okay. They turned out great.
Yeah, they look really cool. Now this, I think, is very interesting. This kind of breaks out, I guess, how different pieces go together and what types of materials they are. You could probably explain it better than I can.
Right. So
I'm no artist.
So a big portion of it is also kind of trying to fit it into our armor system, where literally we can swap between every race and and also kind of swap between heavy and medium and all the parts. And so that system itself kind of makes it so that we do have to go through and make sure that everything, all the seams are not in conflict, and all the parts can be swapped. And so yeah, it's really important to kind of distinguish where the lines are, where the material should be, and how they work together.
And you do this for all the different armor sets, right?
Right, every armor
So
will
what do the
go
different
through the same
colors
process.
mean?
So red is the primary. So for example, the light, we want primarily to be cloth. So there's going to be a majority of red on the armor. And the medium, same, will be leather, and then the heavy will be metal.
Okay. Very cool.
So this is Malakath,
Malakath,
I believe. Yeah, so this is same
Another-
process.
I
Yeah,
was going to say I can barely read it from back here, but I think
So
it's
this is another
Malakath, yeah.
example of, are we looking at light, medium, and heavy again?
right. Usually light on the on the left, medium on the middle, and then heavy on the right.
Nice.
Very cool. So you guys go through this type of study for every single armor set that's
For
created?
every single armor set.
Wow.
Yeah, we have to make sure we can work with everything. So.
And this here is the Regatta set, which is another one of the Thieves Guild sets, and you did this one as well?
Right.
This one looks really cool.
Yeah.
It's a little
so
different.
What was the inspiration for this one? You kind of spoke to the Thieves Guild, drew upon previous Thieves Guild sets. What about this one?
So this one was a little bit more influenced by Yokuden.
Okay.
And specifically more of an ancient kind of Yokuden feel. So I had to reference the previous Yokuden version that we did, and also the other games.
Okay.
It looks great.
Yeah, it does.
Thanks.
Somebody in chat was calling it the Red Bull armor because it gives you wings. Very cute. So you've been doing concept art for a long time. What's one of your favorite things that you've done specifically while working here at SOS for ESO?
Of course, armors are fun. They
you're
can
good
get
at
kind of technical, but what I've had most fun doing was actually screenshots and doing load screens for the game.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, and getting to get away from doing characters and
Do something a little
clothing, and instead getting to paint and do some
Yeah.
environments and mood and things like that.
So a lot of the load screens that players have seen, you probably had a hand in creating, right?
Some, not that many, but
Some of the earlier ones?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, everybody loves the art in the game. They're all giving you props in chat saying that it looks great. So
Well, thanks.
it was nice talking to you and kind of just seeing real quick how something like this gets done. Everyone's kind of like, well, we've seen this on PTS, but yeah, we know. But it's
kind of
kind
the
of cool to
starting
see
point, yeah.
where it even starts. So again, thank you for kind of hopping on the show with us. And
Yes,
chatting a
thank
little
you.
bit.
Thank you.
And yeah, all this again will be live in just a week and a couple days. So
Yep.
it's coming up quick.
So that wraps up our show for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We are actually looking at when we're going to have our next show, so stay tuned for that, and we'll let you know the date. It may be in a couple weeks, so we may wait a little bit longer than that. See how things go on live when Thieves Guild launches.
So as always, we'd love to hear what you thought of today's show. Like Jess said, the next show will be whenever it is, and we'll be kind of going back to our regularly scheduled program once Thieves Guild has launched. So let us know what you thought. If you have anything to share with us, you can shoot us an email at community@elderscrollsonline.com.
And thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you in Tamriel, and have a great weekend.
Bye.